Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. At the 6 o'clock location we have Select starting as the red Terran, 3 o'clock location we have Idra starting as the blue Zerg. This is on Lost Temple and from MLG Dallas. Pretty fresh match actually. This actually might have even been finished within 24 hours. I just saw it up and decided to do it because had time and hey, why not? So not sure what round this is from, but I will say if you haven't heard of Idra, you haven't heard of top level Starcraft 2. He's currently the man to beat in the United States. Really has the best micromanagement, has the best macromanagement, is just got a really phenomenal, well, maybe not the best micromanagement, but he's just such a solid player across the board, is very, very intelligent, is very, very strong, and I really want to see someone rise up to just try to take him on heads up. But honestly, as far as it goes out in the field, haven't seen it thus far. So, and knowing Select's a very good player, but I'm not sure that he can take Idra heads up, so I almost wonder if he has kind of a secondary game plan right off the bat, and looking for that Overlord in the corner with that first SCV, but instead Idra has it taken to the 12 o'clock location, and in the meantime he's going for a front door seal with his supply depot. Anyway, we'll see how Idra plays this. Oftentimes on Lost Temple, he will go for just that standard early hatchery rather than going for spawning pool first, depending on kind of what runs into his base, or whether he's getting harassed by an engineering bay or a supply depot or something at his natural expansion. Looks like Select is now scouting out, and he is going to come across Idra's base here to follow. It doesn't look like Idra is moving out a drone to plant that spawning pool off 14, so I assume, yeah, he is going to go for that fast expansion now, moving out that drone, and it looks like, unfortunately, Select is not in position to stop it, so it looks like Idra is going to get a little bit of an economic bump early. Should be able to follow up with that supply depot. And let's see how Select decides to follow this up, whether he's going to go into Idra with some sort of clever attack, or if he's going to try to play the economic catch-up game and just go one barracks into command center. It looks like he is, in fact, going to decide to be a little bit more aggressive at Idra, and he really needs to provide some extremely defensive scouting, particularly against this drone, as Idra's starting to move up now. Either get another supply depot down very, very rapidly. Still doesn't mind any gas, so he's not going to be able to plant anything else. And this is really, really crucial. I cannot emphasize how important it is that he blocks this drone as it's coming up the ramp, engaging a little bit, and Idra sneaks in, sees the barracks. So now he knows he's going up against a 2 barracks attack, and specifically he's going up and seeing that he's it's still possibly an expansion build here from Select because he hasn't planted additional gas. So perhaps we're going to see more or less an attempt at harass with just Marines a little bit early on, but otherwise it looks like Select is in fact going for a longer macro management style game because he has not capped additional gas at this stage to really go for what you would think would be kind of more of a pressure build. It's possible we'll see maybe some sort of barracks thing offhand, but very likely, and actually 3 SCVs lining up to go for an attack. 3 o'clock position, 3 SCVs, a single Marine, just to do a little bit of harassment. Looks like Idra does have his spawning pool up, but let's see if he's cheating. No, he's actually building several Zerglings in anticipation for this, and looks like he might lose a single drone, but this is definitely something he can afford to lose right at this stage. And Select needs to be very careful. He needs to actually bring these SCVs back to help defend that Marine, because that Marine, even though it was able to kill that drone, is extremely exposed when it's out on its own, out in the open like that. And then now they're trying to retreat. It looks like there is a second Marine, but now the SCVs have been separated. And it looks like these troops are almost completely at a loss, and Select is going to have to try to micro his way out of this, but Idra right on top of it, and I mean right on top of it. Look at those Zerglings just chewing these Marines to death. More Marines starting to flood out, and a third barracks, and kind of an interesting wall for Select. So it looks like Select actually going to go all Marine all day, all the time to try to take Idra out, and it's just going to be constant Marine pressure. And let's see if he actually is keeping up with the SCV production, but let's see if Idra, how he's going to kind of cope with this. One thing this will do for Select is, as long as Idra keeps seeing these Marines, and he's going to be able to get an Overlord in position to kind of look at that. I don't know if he knows about this third barracks yet. And more Zerglings running out in the field, and really what's key for Idra, he's skipping, it looks like he's skipping Zergling speed at this stage, or at least he's getting it out a little bit later, perhaps because of the amount of Zerglings he had to produce instead of drones. Maybe got that gas down a little bit later. He is going to be able to pick off some of the reinforcements, but those 3 Marines otherwise able to kill some of those Zerglings out in the field. And as long as Idra keeps losing Zerglings, he's going to have to constantly keep replenishing them, particularly deal with these Marine fights. So it looks like Select's plan right now is to continue to harass, force these larvae to be used on anything but economy, and just try to micro forward, do some damage. From another critical thing for Idra, and it looks like they might get surrounded, and Select cannot afford to lose these Marines, and it looks like they are getting boxed in that bottom right corner, doing some pretty nice damage, but otherwise getting wiped out, and he's just pumping Marines. But another critical thing for Idra is actually just to get that creep forward in the meantime, to provide a little bit more, essentially provide a little bit more speed without the actual speed upgrade. Now that's metabolic boost being upgraded. Although it just feels a little bit late, and perhaps again that is because of the harassment, or maybe I'm just off time. And now a lot of Marines on that corner. Select has planted 2 gas, so he's going to follow this up with something. But right now, economically, he's going to be at least somewhat behind. So, and that's the thing with Idra. He's just a master at coping with all sorts of harass and still sneaking out drones somehow, and just having a really solid, capable defense in the meantime. Select now lifting down that supply depot. He's got a pretty sizable army of Marines camped out there, and it looks like Select is going to try to take that natural expansion to follow this up. But Idra leaving his Zerglings on hold position right outside without speed. He's going to end up losing a lot of them, and that is huge. Now Idra going to have to spend more larva on Zerglings, and actually he's going to have to crawl back to his main. Let's see if he gets the Zerglings up in time to defend this natural expansion. He does have a queen there, but he actually needs to pull that queen back. Okay, pulling it back behind the lines. It looks like Select not wanting to venture out onto the creep, not knowing basically how aggressive Idra is going to play. He does have a tech lab, and it looks like he's researching stim pack here in the meantime, getting a second tech lab down, so it looks like he's going to be a switch more into Marauders. And Zergling's actually slipping by now that they have the speed upgrade, and Idra going to pin a lot of these Marines to the corner wall. He's probably going to get a lot of Marine kills, but wow, just beautiful play, beautiful timing, just to have the instincts to run and just nail those Marines right there, completely wiping out Select's Marine army, and still 4 Zerglings out on the ground, although heavily damaged. Beautiful play from Idra. That's definitely going to slow down this natural expansion. Looks like combat shields also being upgraded, and Select just continuing with the barracks. Already has 5 barracks up, but Spire being upgraded from Idra. I should say being planted for Idra. So it looks like what he's going to do is he's going to take to the air and just try to provide himself a little bit, and this is going to be beautiful actually with Select with these 2 tech labs and starting to pump Marauder instead, and also getting a Baneling nest. So going into, it looks like Baneling Muta, which is very difficult for Terran, particularly I feel like on this map to defend against. As soon as they start pushing out, looks like 2 reactors being added on, but it's just extremely difficult to move out to get map control against that sort of play, because as soon as you start moving out, you have Mutalisks and Banelings just descending upon you. And maybe once that bunker goes up, we'll see Select start to move out. It looks like he does have the 2 additional reactors, and that'll help deal with and getting a nice comsat over the main, but still didn't get the information he wanted to, which is specifically about this Baneling nest here in the corner. And I actually don't, okay, it looks like there's a Spire a little bit to the south. I don't think he in fact saw that. I'm going to bring up the mini map to take a look. Okay, it looks like he did, if he did in fact select that. He get a good look. Looks like Idra's getting plenty of information in the meantime, has a good scope of this army, is going to see that natural expansion as it comes. But Idra in a pretty nice, I mean, he's going up against a mostly Marauder heavy army at this stage, more Marines starting to flood out. But if Select gets a little bit overcommittal and decides to push this attack towards that natural expansion, those Mutalisks could swing around, particularly with Banelings right there to do all sorts of explosive damage on the front. It looks like they are morphing in. Idra is just playing this fantastically. He's just right on top of this, timing and everything. But it looks like in a push in, should be able to the spine crawler down. Now that Queen very vulnerable. Drones coming off the line, but the Banelings right there and pinned a lot of these troops in. A nice micro from Select, actually throwing the Marauders in to basically absorb a lot of the damage that would have happened against those Marines otherwise. And now the Mutalisks coming in to clean this army up, but Idra still has taken significant damage across his natural expansion. But now you got that big counterattack of Mutalisks starting to push forward. With that, Select's actually taken an economic lead, so just a little bit off time from Idra, as I was saying how brilliantly timed it was, so that shows me. But now the Mutalisks running forward, going to do damage where they can. It looks like they're going to sit over that barracks. They actually need to really go for that SCV line, but this is now the difficulty for Select, is Marines, while they are formidable against Mutalisks, are not very mobile comparatively, because they can't fly. One day maybe with jetpacks, although I guess that makes them Reapers and they can't shoot air. Go figure. Anyway, it looks like the Mutalisks are starting to swing around towards that natural expansion. Select actually ignoring this attack, and he's going to go for an attack on that natural expansion, just trying to group build, I guess group cover on those turrets, getting a lot of turrets up. That'll cover that while these Marines dive in. Idra has no Banelings to help defend against this, having to pull drones once again in a very difficult position. This is not the unit composition he wanted to have, drones and Mutalisks versus a lot of these Marines, and these Mutalisks are going to melt against those combat shields and stim packs. So Select diving in, and Idra just getting caught a little bit off guard, just assumed that his Mutalisks would be able to stay back, but somehow able to micro through that. Just too much stim pack perhaps. Between that and the Glaive, the Mutalisks do survive, and honestly, almost any other player would have taken a lot more Mutalisk deaths, or would have suffered a lot more Mutalisk deaths. Looks like we're seeing centrifugal hooks, some more Banelings upgraded, and Select needs to be very, very careful about how he micros this, and it looks like able to take out a couple more Mutalisks, and it looks like we are in fact seeing Foxer's style play, where it's just nothing but Marines with that combat shield upgraded. Oof, Banelings trying to push forward, but they are getting picked up, and this is where you have that raw number, and you really need something like Burrow to kind of cope with it, and Idra having a lot of difficulty coping with this. Does manage to nail a lot of these Marines though and really clean it up. Loses his queen though in the meantime, which is going to be huge. That's absolutely going to be devastating. I think he does have level 1 weapons for air in the meantime, but he has prevented Idra from expanding. He has managed to keep up the pressure. Looks like he's actually still got an economic advantage, so doing rather well at pushing Idra back, inflicting a lot of damage, keeping Idra off guard, forcing him to spend larva on attack units rather than on his economy, which is exactly the place he wants to be. More Marines pushing out, more diving in. There's the speed upgrade, going to try to dive in. Nice split by Select, but it is not enough. The Banelings land and just absolutely wreck that army, and Idra now able to back off a little bit, but still very, very significant. You can see this is 40 harvesters, and you're about 14 minutes in, which is way, way behind where you usually see Idra in matches like these, and this is not where he plays comfortably. He likes having a huge economy, and now you see a medevac, and it's going to be a split attack. Looks like oh man, Idra completely out of position. Looks like mostly focusing on the main here. Did manage to take out a barracks. Is going to continue to dive in with a bit, and now getting dropped over his natural expansion. So it's going to be havoc on havoc here, and who can do the most damage. It looks like Idra's starting to back off, and he has really nothing to damage these Marines up here. The Mutalisks can go and approach, but they would just more or less get taken out. Looks like more being loaded out onto the low ground. Idra is going to, wow, he's actually all-inning on the front door. Barracks being taken care of. The Baneling's going to dive in, try to take out a lot of SCVs. They do take out a lot of SCVs, but he's also sustaining heavy damage at his natural expansion. Select still has a ton of SCVs, more Banelings rolling forward, but Idra just does not seem to have the troop count that he really wants to. While down 20 supply, a very rare situation for Idra, and Select is getting it done with Marine combat shields and stim pack, the modern Terran style, as you can see, and loading up, and Idra still just pulling back the few Mutalisks he can to try to clean up this natural expansion, but just Zerglings and Mutalisks does not get it accomplished. He has to GG. Great play from Select. Beautiful decision making, awesome pressure. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nice play. Thank you for listening.